Hello, this video is intended as an instructional aid to help teach instrument pilots in training to fly Instrument Landing System Approaches, or ILS. The approach we'll be using today is the ILS runway 18 left to the Southern Illinois Airport in Carbondale, Illinois. We'll begin by briefing the approach. Our local laser frequency is 110.9, set active in number 1 and in number 2. Final approach course is 182 degrees, set in number 1 and in number 2 indicators. Runway is 6,500 feet long. We'll touch down at an elevation of 407 feet. The ATIS frequency is 119.725, which is active in number 2. The sky condition is overcast at 400. Visibility is 1 mile. Winds are calm. Altimeter is 3017. We would currently be talking to Kansas City Center on 127.47. And after that, we will be talking to Carbondale Tower on 125.35. From there, we will talk to Carbondale Ground on 121.8, set standby in 2. We'll be receiving radar vectors on this approach simulated by me. We will start by flying northbound for a number of miles, and then making a westbound turn and intercepting the localizer. Typically, ATC brings you at least 3 miles before the final approach fix, which is the outer marker beacon, the cabby intersection, and at no more than a 30-degree angle. Once we have been cleared for the approach and are established on the final approach course, we can descend down to an altitude of 2,100 for a glide slope intercept. Once intercepting the glide slope, we'll follow the glide path down to a decision altitude of 607 feet. If after reaching that altitude we do not have the runway in sight, we'll climb straight ahead to 2,100 feet, make a climbing right turn to 2,400 feet, back to the cabby intersection, the outer marker beacon, the compass locator, and hold. We would expect that to be a parallel holding entry. In order to identify cabby, we need to have ADF, which we have tuned to 388 kilohertz. Let's begin. During this low workload time, it would be a good time to complete any checklist that needed to be completed. Double check all radio configurations, and generally prepare for the approach and landing. We've just seen both of our needles swing on our navigation indicators. Now would be a good time to identify those. We received the Morse code identifiers, and we have confirmed that we have good navigation signal. At this point, ATC may issue instructions to turn left heading 270, vectors for the approach, and I would read those instructions back. It's just the same. Turn left heading 270, vectors for the approach. The next clearance I would expect to receive would be the heading that I would use to intercept the final approach course, and the clearance for the approach, and possibly an altitude restriction. What might sound like Skyhawk 172 Sierra Papa, turn left heading 210, maintain 3000 till established, cleared ILS runway 18 left to the Southern Illinois Airport. And I would read most of that back. Turn left heading 210, maintain 3000 till established, cleared ILS runway 18 left, 172 Sierra Papa. Now from here, I'm watching my number 1 and number 2 nav indicators, looking for the vertical needle to start moving. I'd monitor its rate of closure to determine when I need to start my turn from 210 to my course of 180 for the approach. Also, once I'm in at least a half scale, I can descend down to my glide slope intercept altitude for this approach of 2,100 feet. I do see some movement on both of my needles. Watch them even more now. I am confident that I can get established on that localizer course. I'm going to begin my descent down to 2,100. And I won't turn anymore for just a few moments. To begin my descent, I bring my power back to its set power, 17 to 1800 RPM, and set my pitch 3 to 5 degrees nose low. Here comes my localizer, so at this point I'm going to go ahead and turn to heading a south. May have overshot that course just slightly, so I'll turn just slightly past south while I work on getting re-established on the center line of the course. There's my center line, about 150 feet to descend. I'll gradually start bringing my power up and level off on the attitude indicator, confirming my altimeter and VSI that I'm at a constant altitude. Now I'll just maintain this altitude until I intercept the glide slope. Before intercepting the glide slope, I'll want to set my flaps to 10 degrees and maintain an airspeed of about 90 knots throughout the approach. My glide slope needle is coming active, so I will set my flaps to 10 degrees and begin descending along the glide path. That tone you're hearing is the marker beacon, which I would be using if I was flying the localizer approach. Since I'm following a glide slope using the ILS, that is my primary concern. I'll make a series of small course corrections to maintain the center line of both the glide slope and the localizer. Going just a little fast, I'm going to dial my power back and raise my nose just slightly to compensate for the increased rate of altitude loss. Centered on the course, I'm going to turn back to the south and raise my nose just a degree or two in order to maintain the glide slope. Just about 1,000, just under 1,000 feet to descend before reaching my decision altitude. A little under my glide slope, so I'll level off, re-intercept, and drop my nose back down to it. Back on the localizer center line, turning back to south. Very small corrections. Very easy to overdo it. Just about 500 feet left to descend. can see the closer we get, the more sensitive the localizer and the glide slope become. See the runway environment ahead of me. I'll maintain the glide slope until I'm confident that I can transition to visual conditions. And begin my transition for landing. First thing I need to do is dial the power back to about 1500 RPM or so. Raise my nose just slightly to get my airspeed into the white arc so that I can use the rest of my flaps for the landing. Careful for the ballooning effect that's going to produce. Oftentimes a good idea to use nose down trim in combination with the flaps. From here, you'll fly your normal approach speeds in and make a normal landing. This video is filmed with OBS Studio in X-Plane with Track IR and is intended for instructional use. Thank you for watching.